Welcome to another episode of Undisputed Nerds. This is the podcast where we take a light-hearted look at comic book movies, TV shows, and video games, sometimes video games. I'm your host, Zane Taisho, and as always, I'm joined by the gentleman gamer, or gentlemanly gamer.
So close, almost all the way through there, Zane, without any
Almost,
fault
yeah.
whatsoever. Hello, everyone in Radio Land. For those regular listeners, you know that Zane always has to do at least one thing slightly differently in the intro, and he's done it again. Congratulations, Zane. I'm proud of you.
Thank
You almost seamlessly made it all the way through, but it doesn't matter. It's fine. I've started off angry, haven't I? I've started off aggressive. I'm sorry. I'm in a delicate, fragile mood. It's hot, Zane. It's the heat. Like British people, we don't do well with this heat. We're all about moderation, my friend. And the country's been cooking.
It has been. I had a thought the other day, like, I swear for the last 3-4 weeks we've just talked about the weather, like stereotypical British people.
Yeah, I was going to say let's get on to the other stereotypical thing, queuing. Yeah, I've been queuing in a post office for the last 3 weeks of this weather. It's absolutely disgusting. If there's one thing that we'd like to do more than queuing, it's complaining about things. Honestly, people have been talking about. I'm going to steal an old Frankie Boyle joke here, but people have talked about the fact that we're looking for renewable energy sources. And it's like people have not realised we need to just harness the power of British moaning, because that, my friend, is an indispensable source of energy. It's like, just imagine it's like, oh, that light bulb's on the blink again. Oh, there it goes. See, instantly. There you go. The power of British moaning. It's been great. I haven't eaten so many wraps as I've ever done in this weather, because we don't want to turn our oven on, because if we turn the oven on, it basically bakes the entire house. So I've just been eating wraps all week.
I got a couple of Magnum ice creams and Ben and Jerry's. Like, been working my way through different ice creams this week, which is
What, every day a different one, Zane?
Well, yeah, because every day's a different flavor, right? Like,
oh, he's done it, guys. This man is literally the power of positivity embodied in a human. There's no British moaning with this man.
Yeah, it's always on the bright side.
Like the light bulbs,
like the killers.
Moving on.
I was going to ask you, as a Resident Evil fan, have you seen the new series on Netflix?
I have not watched the whole series yet. I have seen the first episode, and I have to say I was very impressed. It was really good. Yeah, it's really good. Yeah, because it's like, I think it's the reason why it's so good is because they've made the really wise choice of not making it like crazy stupid like the Mila Jovovich movies, but also not making it exactly like the games. So it's almost like it's its own property, but with like Resident Evil like bits like interspersed in. So you've got like the Umbrella Corporation is still, the massive pharmaceutical giant, and like character wise, like Wesker is in it, but he's very different to what he is in the games. Like it's so Lance Reddick, who he's been in loads of things. He was in Fringe. I'm trying to think of what else he's been in recently. But he's a very well-known actor. Like, if you see his face, you'll be like, oh my God, and hear his voice. His voice is really distinctive. But he plays Wesker. So it's, first of all, it's a difference because, he's black and Wesker traditionally in the games is white. And then he's a family man as well. So Wesker in the games has got in the games is just this like, monstrous kind of person who has no moral compass whatsoever. But in this, Wesker's a dad and he's got 2 girls. And it time jumps between before the end of the world and after the end of the world because of the T-virus. And it's really good so far. Like I've only seen the first episode. But I was very impressed by the first episode. I thought it was something different, but not different in a really, oh, this is rubbish kind of way. It was different in a, this is kind of scary, cool, and I like it. I want to see where it goes. So yeah, Resident Evil gets the new series from Netflix so far. 1 episode in gets a thumbs up from me.
Interesting. I've never played a Resident Evil game, so I have no idea. I've heard of the Umbrella Corporation because of merch, but I've got no idea going into this. So and like a few of my mates have already complained like that it's not a straight adaptation. They find it weird that it's Raccoon City and not the first wherever the first one was set. So yeah, I was interested to see what you thought, because
it's not Raccoon City. So it's this one's in this one's different. It takes place in South Africa. So so Raccoon City is from the games. So Raccoon City is the place that all the stuff happens in the games, basically. The first one takes place in like a mansion that's on the outskirts of Raccoon City, and then the second one is like the virus spreads into the city, and all hell breaks loose, and then it goes on from there. Like I'm a huge Resident Evil, huge Resident Evil fan. But like this one, the series, they're in South Africa, like about an hour away from Cape Town in South Africa, and I can't remember what they've called it, New Raccoon City or whatever they've called it, but basically Umbrella have built a town. They've built an actual town where their employees live and work, and they practice like the creation of this drug called Joy, which is supposed to like prevent illness. But obviously, shady Umbrella, secretly they're doing all kinds of genetic testing underground that we're not supposed to know about. And so yeah, they're experimenting on animals and stuff like that, and seeing what happens with them. And I think it's different. It's difficult because like I think the films, most of them varied, apart from Welcome to Raccoon City, which I still haven't seen yet. But like most of the films vary from the games quite extensively, and the characters are not. I think that's the problem with it. It's like, if you take these things and you try and shoehorn the type of characters that they were in the games into a new franchise that doesn't necessarily treat them the same way, then everyone gets annoyed. But if you have the IPs to be able to use, and yet you create something new and you create new characters just with the same names, it becomes something else in my mind, which is interesting because that's kind of similar to what we're going to talk about today in our review of Ms. Marvel, because there's a lot of things that are namesake-wise the same. However, they're going to be very different in the show. So it all loops around in the end, Zane, doesn't it?
There we go. Absolutely. Fantastic. I'm glad that you said that, because I was
watched it.
unsure. Yeah, basically gave a brief little review there.
I went off on Resident Evil for like 5 minutes. I'm sorry, everyone who's listening. You can wake up now. The show's going to start again. I'm sorry.
Super. So I guess we're going to have our normal recurring segments. So we've got, of course, What's All the Rage with Nicolas Cage. We've got tips and bits.
You got it right.
We've got tips and bits, which you can find on Undisputed Nerds Strikes Again. But we'll have our review of Ms. Marvel
as well. Yes, I can't believe you got it right. I'm so shocked. He never gets that right. He's just said What's All the Rage with Nicolas Cage. I'm so impressed, Zane. Are you feeling all right today?
I think I'm okay. I think
that cold that you had has given you superpowers. You're like you've been granted the gift of perfect hosting. That's what it's given.
It's unlocked my mind palace, and
it
now
really
I can remember things.
Oh man, I hope I come down with it soon.
I guess this is a perfect entry point for this week's sponsor.
Zane, did you know that I love to surf?
No, I didn't.
I know, it's amazing. You'd never believe it looking at me, but I am an avid surfer. Not of the sea, though. Oh, no. I am a surfer of the World Wide Web, my friend. And let me tell you something. When I go surfing, I definitely need some protection. Not the usual kind of wetsuit, though. I need some VPN. Do you know what VPN means, Zane?
I don't. What's a VPN?
Well, it would be a virtual private network, and let me tell you, we here at Undisputed Nerds are being sponsored this week, and a big thank you to the episode sponsor, Surfshark VPN. You can get Surfshark VPN 83% off and 3 months free, Zane, if you go to surfshark.deals/Undisputed Nerds and enter in the promo code Undisputed Nerds. Surfshark VPN lets you trick your device into thinking it's in another country, which opens up a whole world of content libraries, Zane. So think about it this way. If you're in the UK, you can watch US Netflix, which has a far bigger selection of movies. You can get all of your Batfleck content that I know you love, Zane. I know you're looking for. If you're outside of the UK as well, you can watch amazing apps like BBC iPlayer. And if you're in the US, you can finally get access back to the old WWE Network with its far superior functionality. We've been using, me and Zane have been using Surfshark here at Undisputed Nerds for a while. It is our official VPN, and it doesn't just let us gain access to all the comic book movies, but it also secures our networks by encrypting internet traffic, keeping our location and download history private, thankfully, so that people can't see me purchasing wetsuits. My favorite feature on the Surfshark, it knows when my phone leaves a trusted connection, like my home or work internet, and it immediately turns on to prevent interference. It's like having, I don't know, Batfleck's Justice League for your phone, Zane.
I know exactly what you mean.
And I know you've got a lot of Batfleck on your phone right now. So sign up to Surfshark today by using our link in the video description below, surfshark.deals/undisputed nerds, where you'll get, again, 83% off and your first 3 months free if you use the code Undisputed Nerds. We really appreciate if you just at least check them out, as they're a great company and we love working with them. Support Undisputed Nerds and support your internet privacy with Surfshark.
I love our sponsorship. Isn't it great?
What are you turning into like the MJF robot? I love our insert sponsor's name. Yes, thank you. I do enjoy surfing. Right. So anyway, yes, I guess it's time for the segment that we all know and love. I believe it's time to say, Zany baby, what's all the rage with Nicolas Cage?
Yeah. How'd it get burned? How'd it get burned? How'd it get burned? How'd it get burned? I don't know.
Oh, I think I've got an idea, and we're going to talk about it today. Thank you very much for that, Zane. Right. We've explored a lot into the world of Nicolas Cage. For new listeners, as I say every week, what we do is we do a deep dive into the crazy life of Nicolas Cage, the things that he's done, the things that he's seen, the things that he's bought. And I give Zane a title, and then I go into the actual bulk of the story.
The logistics of it all.
Now, this one is slightly different this week, because this one doesn't cover anything kind of like crazy in the title, but I'm still going to give you the title. All right.
Okay. Yeah.
All right. So, and then we'll go into it. So this one, Nick Cage, Prince, Primal Screaming, and Therapy.
Wow.
So here we go. You ready for this?
Yeah.
In April, this was back in 2021, as per the Washington Post. Thank you very much for the reporting on this. A clip of Nick Cage rage singing Purple Rain at a karaoke bar went viral online. It coincided with his 4-day marriage to girlfriend Erica Koike in Las Vegas and the consequent annulment. The actor likened his rendition of the Prince song to primal scream therapy, stating that his goal wasn't to sing, but to scream.
Wow.
Then the actor went on, with regard to clinical therapy, Cage has said that he hasn't gone for at least 20 years. There were benefits, he said, but there was a point where he would look at his therapist and think, why am I talking to you? I'm more interesting than you. Zane, thoughts on his version of primal scream therapy for a start, and also the idea that he doesn't need therapy because he's far too interesting for it.
The primal scream, isn't that something they teach in George of the Jungle, where he's like, you just gotta let it go. And that's the whole reason he does the whole
I mean, I've got to be honest with you. I don't think, as far as psychiatrists studying, I don't think they cite George of the Jungle as a source material. I had a patient number 25 come in, and he was suffering with acute depression. So I decided to give him the therapy from the classic film George of the Jungle, the primal scream therapy. And he went swinging out my window, and I've never seen him since. No, I'm not sure if they cite it from George of the Jungle. I can't remember the last time I saw George of the Jungle. It's been a long time ago. I do love Brendan Fraser, though. He's a wonderful man.
I watched it earlier this year, and I completely forgot that. What's his name from the Monty? Faulty Towers?
John Cleese?
John Cleese, yes. I completely forgot he was in it as a gorilla.
Yes, he is in it as a gorilla. Yeah, he got in everything. Like, he was in everything. I remember him being in like a weird World War II game that never got traction as well. He's in loads of things. But yeah, do you think Nick Cage needs therapy? No,
he's just operating on a different level that we all can't comprehend.
Yeah, he's far too interesting for that. Anyway, not gonna lie, guys, we're running dry on the Nick Cage news. So I will try and come up with some more What's All the Rage with Nick Cage news next week. However, we may start expanding out our acting news. I'm thinking of possibly getting into the acting history of Richard E. Grant and some of the funny stuff that he's done, because I would quite like to talk about his Shakespearean rap album that he made, which I believe you've had. I might actually to get an audio clip of it, Zane, just to play on the show. I think that would be quite funny to look at. We've already got the acting talent of him, but yeah. Anyway, so that's all from Nick Cage this week.
So this week, would you believe it? The end of Miss Marvel.
Wait, what?
Yes, I know. What a journey.
Was
6 episodes.
Oh, no. Oh, I should have watched it.
So, yes, Miss Marvel had finished. We're going to give you our thoughts, our sort of review, and we're going to break of the series, a whole season. But we will break it down as we normally do by giving you the verdict, what we thought of certain characters, the story, and we'll probably touch on the visuals as well, right?
Yeah, why not? I mean, you're the host, Zane. You know, I just follow your lead, of course. You know.
Beautiful.
All right, do you want to do the countdown then and do the old undisputed disputed?
Cool. Right. So
you do the countdown this week. You do it, because every time everything that happens with me, you're always delayed. So you're going to do 1, 2, 3, and then undisputed or disputed.
I'm going to start 5. Like a
5?
thunderbird. 5, 4. No, I'm going to jump it. 2, 1.
Undisputed. You are the worst at this. You're the worst at countdowns. Honestly, I don't know why. Why do we do this Saints High show?
I'm just chaos. That's why.
All right. Let's do a non-spoiler. Let's do a non-spoiler thing. Just an overview. Zane, what's the story of this?
This is the story of Miss Marvel. It's a journey of self-discovery and superpowers. Because I don't know if you know this, but Miss Marvel becomes a superhero.
What?
Yeah.
But isn't there a Miss Marvel already, Zane?
Some of you who know your history may know that once upon a time, Captain Marvel was Miss Marvel. But due to some legal mumbo jumbo and DC like saying, hey, you see that Captain Marvel? There's been loads of Captain Marvels in the books, hasn't there? There's been like 5 of them. I don't know. There's been quite a few. There's a male Captain Marvel, and then there's Carol Danvers who was Miss Marvel, and then she's now Captain Marvel in the books. But this story is all about Kamala Khan. She is now. I'm curious whether or not Marvel can say this, but they say that she's the first Muslim. She's certainly the first Muslim superhero in the Marvel universe. However, Simon Baz, who was one of the Green Lanterns, is also a Muslim in DC, and I think he is technically the first Muslim superhero.
I could be wrong on that, guys. Please correct me. I thought he was around in like 2012, and Ms. Marvel debuted in 2014. Her first story run was in 2014. But she's certainly the first Marvel Muslim superhero. That is correct. So with non-spoilers then. So to give a very brief run through of this series, she is a schoolgirl who is just trying to be a teenage girl, living her life on Instagram, living her life on the TikTok, trying to be, just a funky, fresh girl and get all the hits, all that stuff that TikTokers and Instagram guys do and girls. But she doesn't really fit in, does she, Zane? She's kind of an outcast. She's a little bit of an outcast. And, she gets sent some from Pakistan. She gets sent some, jewelry and bangles and beads. And it turns out one of these bangles, it's only gone and done a special thing, isn't it, Zane? And it's gone and given her superpowers. And then the journey of Ms. Marvel, the show begins as to how she's going to get used to her powers whilst being a teenage girl and save the day. And I think that's about the most non-spoilery review or plot thing we can give for the show, isn't it? Before we get into anything.
Yeah, definitely. It's fantastic.
It was really good. I enjoyed it. I will say it's the one thing I have noticed about these TV series with Marvel is there is a period of time where you do seem to get these episodes that will be described as filler, but they also can be lull episodes where it kind of like dips a little bit.
Yeah.
And this series definitely had it. Moon Knight had some of them as well. In fact, every TV, with the exception of
Loki,
with the exception of maybe Hawkeye. No, Hawkeye. I was going to say, I don't remember Hawkeye having a lull episode. Like every episode of Hawkeye, I was like, "Oh, this is great! Like this is so good! Like this is amazing!" Because think about it, like the first 2 episodes of Hawkeye was Echo was in it, which was really good. Then Florence Pugh's Yelena Belova turns up, and then Kingpin turns up, and it was like, there is no filler here whatsoever. It's just, this is great. Haley Steinfeld's been confirmed to be cast in movies, by the way, more of the MCU movies coming up. She confirmed that she was going to be in more MCU projects and movies coming up. So it looks like they are doing Young Avengers. That seems very clear. I think the thing we'll keep skirting around some spoilers and talking about some of the characters and things like that first and the story. The thing I really liked about this, and I don't know whether you feel the same way, Zane, this to me felt like first of all, the casting of Ms. Marvel is incredible. Like, it is just, I cannot, it's one of those situations with Marvel where it's like, when we talked about, Robert Downey Jr. as Tony Stark, and then we talked about, Chris Evans, and we can't see anyone but those people in the roles. Iman Vellani as Kamala Khan is perfect. Like, she's amazingly good at Miss Marvel. Like, and I think the reason why I liked this so much is like it fed into my like love of the Spider-Man stories, where Spider-Man had these powers when he was a kid, and he's trying to get used to his life as a teenager and what that means to him. And this was like her trying to get used to her life, not just as a teenager, but also as a Muslim woman, and what that means to be a Muslim woman in America in current day. And she's got these fantastical powers as well. And like all the stuff that was in New York and in Jersey City was great. Like I loved all of it. And it was I was like, I got such a vibe of like, Spider-Man Homecoming and some of the early stuff. And I was like, this is fantastic. I absolutely love this. I guess a mini spoiler before we get into the proper spoilers, but she goes to Pakistan at one point. And for me, that was where the show lulled a little bit. I felt like it slowed down a bit too much there. But aside from that, I mean, everyone else in this was incredible. Like Matt Lintz as Bruno was her best friend. Yeah, he's brilliant. A little bit of trivia for you here, Zane. Did you know that you do know? You do know. I know you know. Look on your face. So for those of you who don't know, Matt Lintz, I talked about this, I think, on the show either last week or the week before, but Matt Lintz was originally up for the role of Spider-Man, and he was going to be Spider-Man, and he just lost out to Tom Holland. Basically, it was him or Tom Holland was going to be Spider-Man, which I think is amazing. I like that about Marvel, that they just go, well, he was really good. Let's hang on to his number and use him somewhere else.
Yeah.
But yeah, he was really good. The guy who plays Yusuf, his dad, is amazing.
Oh, incredible.
I can't remember what his name is. I have to look it up. I think it's Mohan something. It is Mohan Kapoor. That's his name. Mohan Kapoor. He has been in so many things, so many things that I've seen him in, and he's great. What were you going to say, Zane? Sorry, I cut you off.
It's just again, just to kind of reinforce that this cast is fantastic, and for some of them this is like their first credited role, which is insane because they all do such a brilliant job, and so believable as well.
It's very good. So as far as like non-spoilers are concerned, guys, go and watch this. It's very good. If you're looking for a light-hearted, fun
coming of age
superhero story, this is really genuinely, this is very far up there in terms of my Marvel TV show favorites. I loved this like a lot. I really did. And I know a bit about I know enough about the comics to know the character, I really enjoyed this. So should we get into spoilers?
Let's get into some spoilers.
Well, do we want to tackle the biggest spoiler of all, or do we want to go from here? Where do you want to go from?
Yeah, let's get the elephant out of the room. I think that's going to be the biggest thing, right?
Yeah. So for those of you who don't know, in the comic books, basically Ms. Marvel's powers are she's a polymorph. So what that means is that she can stretch, she can shapeshift, she can actually turn her appearance into other people. She can also shrink as well, by the way, Zane, which I didn't know if that might come into it in the future. She can make herself really tiny. But basically she's a polymorph, right? And in the books, the way that she gets her powers is that she's an Inhuman. So for those of you who don't know, Inhumans are kind of another form of mutation in the MCU. The mutation is unlocked when they're exposed to these special Kree crystals called Terrigen crystals, and they produce this thing called the Terrigen Mist. So long backstory to that, but basically Inhumans are a super weapon product of the Kree, and they were supposed to be designed to help in the war against the Skrulls. And they have these fantastical powers like Black Bolt's insane sonic abilities and stuff like that. So in the books, she's an Inhuman. In the TV show, she has wildly different powers for a start. But it turns out, what is she, Zane?
She's a mutant.
She is the first confirmed MCU main storyline mutant. Because we've obviously seen Charles Xavier in the multiverse in Doctor Strange, but this is the first instance that we've had of mutation in actual MCU mainline timeline, which in hindsight makes a lot of sense because her powers in this show vary wildly differently from the books. So she's still, it's weird because as far as the polymorph abilities are concerned, she still kind of like does the stretchy big arm stuff and the big hand stuff that we're all familiar with. In beginning, exactly. But it's weird because when I saw I wanted to talk about this in episode 1, but then I wasn't on the review of it with it was you and Rinsler doing it. But when I saw what her power set kind of was, my immediate thought was like, oh, she's kind of like encasing herself in that energy. That's weirdly like the X-Man armor. Who can create this weird energy field around herself like a protective armor suit. And I was like, oh, I wonder if that's them stealing a trick from that because it works better on film. But then now knowing that she's a mutant, that kind of makes a lot more sense that they were kind of like leaning her more towards mutant powers instead of inhuman powers. Because inhuman powers typically are quite grotesque. They normally are like, they display themselves in really horrific ways.
Yeah.
You know, you've had there was a teleporter who he got his teleportation. I can't remember what his name was, but he got his teleportation powers, but it sealed his eyes shut, so he couldn't see, but he could teleport anywhere basically that he could think of. And it's, you know, it's stuff like that where it's like normal, and obviously her powers in the comics are like inhuman powers, and they're cool and they're stretchy and stuff like that, but they're quite grotesque. Like, I mean, she makes herself like look horrible and stuff.
Yeah.
But in this, it's all spangly light niceness.
A hard light construct.
Yeah, she's like Rimmer from Red Dwarf. She's a hard light construct.
Yeah, it's an interesting move. Now, I guess, you know, taking a step back and looking at why would they do this now? You know, why wouldn't they double down on the inhuman thing and everything else?
Mm-hmm.
So, I guess historically speaking, knowing, well, I guess it's probably fair to say, like, you know, there was a big push at one stage in Marvel for the Inhumans, as in the comic book line and everything else, because originally Fox owned the rights to X-Men and mutants. So that's why in Civil War? No, not Civil War. In Civil War, no, not Civil War. I'm thinking of Age of Ultron. They refer to, it blurs into one, but they refer to Wanda and Quicksilver as miracles, as enhanced humans, because they didn't use the term at the time.
No, they didn't have the rights to use the term mutant. So yeah, just to be clear, the reason why Zane brings that up is that for those who don't know, traditionally speaking, in the comics, Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch are mutants. They are Magneto's children. And so it's a big thing, basically, that they're also part of the Avengers, which is how they were able to be used in Avengers Age of Ultron before ever being, you know, mutants in the MCU. But it's interesting. Have you noticed that they have subtly started to unwind that thread with Scarlet Witch now, where it is she is almost basically confirmed to be a mutant, pretty much, and her latent, because she's always had her powers since she was a little girl from the Sokovia incident, and the Mind Stone has unlocked her true potential of what she can do. And that, I think, feeds into a lot of the thread of Miss Marvel as well. So yeah, I don't know. As far as the other characters are concerned, I mean, they're all so. The main plot of this movie is that it's a dimensional plot again, which we're kind of seeing a lot of this phase in Marvel. There's a lot of dimensional stuff, as you would expect, because it's multiversal stuff. But basically, there's this. I can't remember what their names are. What are their names? The bad guys. The
Clandestines.
Clandestine, that's the one. Yeah, the Clandestines. So basically, the Clandestines come from this other dimension, and they want to rip a tear in the realities and fold them in on each other so that they can get back home without realizing that it will cause basically the destruction of both worlds, pretty much. And they don't realize that. Or they do realize that, but they think it's worth the risk, and they just care about their world. So the plot is basically that Kamala gets this bracelet, this bangle, that she doesn't know what it is or where it's come from, just that it's come from her grandmother in Pakistan. And she puts it on, it unlocks her powers, and then the Clandestines show up and say, we want that bracelet because it's going to open up a whole world. Zane, what did you think of the Clandestine as a group? Let's count them as a group, because obviously there was a main figurehead, which was I can't remember what her name was. Sana? Was it Sana?
Yes.
The main figurehead.
Yeah.
I think it was her. What did you think of them as a group of bad guys? Just full stop to begin with.
It is kind of, it's probably the weakest part of the whole series, which is a shame. Because you always want a great villain to kind of meet your hero, sort of thing, and it makes the hero's journey, doesn't it?
Well, yes. Go on.
But Yeah, probably the weakest part. I'm really surprised that they use such a deep cut, like comic book, reference. The clandestines, like, it's something that hasn't been used in years in like comic
Yeah.
books, and again, it's such a deep cut, like something that like even casual comic book readers like myself would just kind of
Yeah.
like, I recognize the name, but I don't know where.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean. Yeah, it was. I think it's both a good thing and a bad thing, because I guess they get to kind of like artistic license them and use them for however they
Reinvent
want.
them in stuff. Yeah,
I agree with you in terms of kind of weakness of characters, until I come to the conclusion that I don't think they were the actual main bad guys. I think Cameron was supposed to be the main bad guy, or is the main bad guy, and it was leading up to his relationship. So Cameron is the son of Sana, the main clandestine lady, and he is born of 616 world. So he's from that universe, as opposed to this. I can't remember what they call it. What do they call it? I know they call it the veil, is the thing that divides the two dimensions apart. I can't remember what the other place is called. The light universe or something? I can't remember.
I can't remember.
I can't remember. Anyway.
I was just going to touch on quickly. It's interesting that there's these other sort of realms that layer on top of our realm, because you've also got the mirror dimension from Doctor Strange as well.
I wonder if their dimension is the negative zone.
Yeah.
Because that will feed into what I'm going to talk about a bit later in terms of kind of villains and who the real villain might be in this. But I think it's the negative zone that they live in, and because that's a huge thing in the comics that has not been explored in the MCU at all. And with the Fantastic Four coming up as well, I would not be surprised if that plays into it quite substantially, because it's there's a lot of stuff around the negative zone. Just going back to Cameron, so Cameron's a main baddie, I guess, kind of for Kamala. So, but like the books themselves, the first issue, like the first 6-issue run of Ms. Marvel, a lot of the same beats are in the TV series, but they just tweak it very slightly. So, like, Yusuf, Kamala's dad, in the books is very strict and like, no, you will not go out, no, and like, so they kind of switched it. The mother in the show is actually the authority figure, as opposed to Yusuf, who's kind of this like, kindly old man kind of thing, kindly old dad in the show. So they've taken little bits like that and just flipped it. But Cameron in the books, he's actually an Inhuman from the get-go as well.
Right.
When he's first introduced, he is basically, it's similar to the clandestine thing, where he's trying to recruit Kamala to be with him, because he works for an Inhuman called Lineage. So Lineage is he's kind of like a white supremacist of Inhumans. So he's it's similar in the sense of like Magneto, where Magneto believes only mutants should rule the Earth, while Lineage believes that only Inhumans should rule the Earth and all humans should be wiped out. So Cameron in the books has the same kind of like, he has almost exactly the same powers, funnily enough, as he does in the show. They kept Cameron's powers almost identical. So he's got bioluminescence, so he's got like energy control. So yeah, he can do all the stuff that he does in the books, in the show. So it's kind of cool that they kept him carrying over. But I feel like he was being designed to be the baddie all through it, and then he does kind of become the baddie in the end, which is why you get the fight between him and Ms. Marvel, the kind of pseudo fight. I think he was great. Like, I think he was really, really, really good. I'm searching for the guy's name because I can't remember what his name was now, the actor's name. Keep talking.
Yeah,
Reese Shah, that's it, Reese Shah. Yeah, he's excellent. I thought he was really... all of the casting in this I thought was amazing. Like, Nakia was really good. Yasmin Fletcher was amazing. Like, I loved this show. Like, I just thought it was fantastic. But yeah, incidentally, by the way, Reese Shah is an English actor, and he's been in Emmerdale.
Oh, wow.
And also Casualty. So...
Of course. Like,
You know,
can
so
you even call yourself an actor if you haven't been on Casualty?
listen, only British actors, they have to cut their teeth with at least an Emmerdale or Casualty appearance, or the Bill.
Or the Bill, yeah. I was going to say.
Here's some niche English references for our audience out there, our Americans listening. But yeah, you talk for a bit, Zane. Go for it.
Yeah, so I guess the only sort of thing I thought was a bit bizarre, again, if on the subject of Cameron, is when his mother, passes away by closing the veil, and then he, I don't know, inherits that power. Do you think there's like a little bit of influence from his mum still, in terms of like him acting up and being like angry and attacking the police officers?
So it's an interesting point that you make with that. What I find interesting about that is that the thing that has triggered, is that power that comes from the veil, from the opening and then the horrible closure of the veil, is that the thing that has sent out the awakening of the X gene in people? Because it seems like if we're going by the theory that Ms. Marvel is a mutant, which she is, Cameron theoretically then, by exhibiting exactly the same powers, theoretically speaking, he wasn't exposed to any Terrigen mists, so he is also a mutant.
Yeah.
Which means that potentially the closing of the veil triggered his latent mutant abilities. And then I was thinking about this because he has a weird explosion in the middle of Jersey City where like nothing happens to anyone, but just he fires out all this energy, like this weird veil energy comes off him, and then nothing is said about it, and it's just kind of dismissed. Where his powers are very clearly his ability to control light and like fire it off into like weird jagged spheres and stuff like that. What if him doing that in the middle of Jersey City is the mutant trigger? Like if that's what triggers people's X gene. And suddenly we're going to get more mutants because of this weird veil energy that has exploded throughout the world, and is now traversing like America. Is that going to be the thing that kicks off mutant genes? Because it feels like in this show, there always has to be something that triggers the latent genes within you. Because obviously, Scarlet Witch had some powers, but she wasn't really very powerful when she was a kid. And then she had the Mind Stone exposed to her, and suddenly it's just like all of her powers just exploded. And then Kamala never displayed really any powers. Maybe she had some light flickering or whatnot, but like she never displayed any powers. And then this Bangle, which we'll talk about in a sec, because I definitely want to get into that at some point, exploded her powers and activated her X gene. Maybe Shang-Chi potentially is a mutant, and him controlling the 10 rings, as soon as those 10 rings got on him, it unlocked his latent mutant abilities, and he suddenly has energy control and manipulation. It's this kind of stuff where it's like, I think they are, without realizing it, they've been feeding us the seeds of actually mutants are here and it's happening already, and maybe these artifacts or items are what it takes to unlock the mutant gene until something big happens.
There was a theory I saw. I can't remember if it was New Rockstars or somewhere else, but at Comic-Con, Feige said, once he unveiled Phase 4, he said, and there will be mutants, was the closing statement. So some, hardcore Marvel fans have been looking for signs because, for example, the first one we all kind of thought was when Pietro Quicksilver appeared in WandaVision. At the time, everyone thought, here's the mutant stuff.
Yeah, I think they've been really subtle.
It's been sprinkling.
Yeah, I think they've been really subtle about this. I mean, if you look at it in terms of kind of like, because obviously the MCU likes to mash up characters, they like to make things look differently. Let's look at it. Let's go really outside the box, right? Eternals, whilst it was awful, there was some big plot points in that. One of the biggest things was that Celestials are still in this universe; they are still around, and they are hidden within worlds,
Mm-hmm.
almost like, genes are hidden within us. And what if the Celestials are the people who put it there? Screen Crush had a good example of that, where they were saying that, like, maybe because when we talk about the bangle and stuff like that, the bangle's on the hand of a Kree.
Yes.
So what if the Kree stole all these artifacts, but these artifacts were intended to be, the way that the Eternals were sent to deal with the Deviants? What if these artifacts are the key to, because obviously the Celestials basically made this universe. What if the artifacts are the key to unlocking a person's potential that is within them, aka the X gene? And they intended these people to be the people who would be the champions of those planets, to defend the people so that the eggs could still come. So whilst the Eternals were there to deal with the Deviants but couldn't interfere in world events, perhaps there were chosen celestial champions that could interfere and guide things the way that the Celestials wanted it to go. Which was not a bad theory. And then the Kree came along and were just absolute grabby a-holes who took all the stuff for themselves. But yeah, I think I really do believe that. Here was the other outside the box thinking that I had. This is not going to be true, by the way, guys. So just stay with me on this one. But as we're now seeing mutant mix-ups and like Kamala displaying, latent energy abilities that belong to armor, what if Moon Knight is a different form of Legion from the X-Men?
Ooh. That's a thought.
And he just so happens to be possessed by Khonshu, which means he hasn't really exhibited his full latent mutant abilities, but maybe one of his different personalities is going to unlock his mutant capabilities. Listen, I'm going to call it right now. That's not going to be the case. I guarantee it's not going to be the case. But it is worth thinking about because, yeah, you're right. They have been peppering this stuff in every now and again, and you kind of get different bits and pieces where suddenly you look back on it and go, "Oh wow, yeah, they've actually done that quite cleverly." I honestly think Kang's a misdirect now. I really do. I don't think he's the big bad. I think he's going to be dealt with by the end of Quantumania. I don't think he's going to be around much longer than that.
Ooh.
I think Marvel have been literally throwing red herring this way that we've all been looking at, and then secretly they've been building up Negative Zone and mutants this way so that they can eventually lead to something along the lines of either your Doctor Dooms or Annihilus. I really do think that Annihilus is going to be coming now. I think that the piercing of the veil is what has given him the window into this reality. So Annihilus is so he's a oh god, how do I explain Annihilus? Annihilus is a negative zone being from he's like an insect being from the negative zone who conquers everything. He is a world conqueror. He's a universe conqueror. He takes over everything that he sees, and the way he does it, he has this annihilation wave, which is like this huge swarm of like bugs and stuff that he has. Which you have to read the books to kind of see what it's like. But yeah, he's a big threat. He's a big bad in the MCU, and he's eventually killed by Nova in the comics. Nova's the one who eventually stops him. Richard Rider's Nova, the proper Nova. Please don't introduce the other one. I hate that kid. But they will. They'll introduce the other one because he's part of the Young Champions or whatever they want to do. Ugh, anyway. But yeah, I think Annihilus might be coming, man. I really do. With the piercing of the veil, I think that might be what it is. I think he's on his way. In addition to the advent of mutantdom. But yeah, the other thing to note as well about the show, by the way, is that in the books, Amir, her brother, is also an Inhuman.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
He has Inhuman powers, and he gets exposed by Cameron in the books to the Terrigen Mists, and Cameron tries to recruit him as well, and then he turns his back on him, and then it's Amir and Kamala kind of team out to stop him. But yeah, so I wonder if we'll see Amir displaying some mutant powers in if they go to another season, or if he shows up in the Marvels.
Well, that was the whole conversation that Bruno had, wasn't it? It was that her brother had asked if he had powers as well, and when comparing their blood work, whatever it was, that's how he realized that she had a different a mutated gene.
I must have missed that. I didn't realize that. But yeah, that's interesting because in the books he's an Inhuman. So I wonder if that's interesting. Unless Bruno got it wrong. Maybe Bruno got it wrong. I don't know. Let's go on to a little bit of it. A little bit of the other kind of side of things. What did you think of the effects in this, as far as her powers are concerned, and the light effects? Zane, what did you think of the overall?
Before going into this, I wasn't a fan of the hard light constructions and such, but by the end of it, I did like it. I was like, you know what, this makes a lot of sense. It's unique to this character as well, and I really like the sequence where she lily pads once she gets her outfit, which I think is amazing. Like the whole premise of throughout the series, she's been getting different elements, and then it all comes together at the end. I thought that was amazing. But yeah, I really like the sequence where she lily pads across Jersey City, especially where she stops at the stop
the
sign.
red light.
Yeah. I don't know. It felt really, like you said earlier, Spider-Man like. It was charming.
Fun. Like it was fun. Like I enjoyed it. Like it felt. It's the same with Hawkeye as well. It's for some reason I don't know what it is, but the combination of superheroes in New York, it feels fun. Like it doesn't feel like this weighted drama anymore. Of like, oh my god, like okay, they're struggling with the mortgage on their house. Oh no, how are they going to pay for it? It's like I don't really care. I want to see super powered, people discovering themselves and like realizing that they want to do good. That's awesome. It's a nice feeling. I agree with you on the outfit, by the way. That rings true to certain other items. Like it's funny because the Avengers game, the Square Enix Avengers game, Ms. Marvel is the main character in that. Kamala Khan is the main character in it, and throughout the game she makeshifts different outfits for herself. So she like embroiders like a weird like Ms. Marvel S and stuff on her chest and makes her own outfits as you go through the game and stuff, until she eventually gets like the full like Stark armor kind of suit sort of thing. So I liked that as well. I was with you on that. I think it was a nice way of showing the progression. I think the special effects in this were really good as well. Like they did a really good job as far as the lighting is concerned. And if they were to do armor in the X-Men, that is exactly what I think armor should look like. That kind of like maybe with a different hue as far as the energy is concerned, but like that kind of like crystalline formation kind of thing. It makes me wonder as well if they're going to do Emma Frost in the X-Men, because that is exactly like that diamond form. Is like that would look incredible if they just did it in like a reflective diamond glass kind of formation.
One thing on just quickly on the subject of the visual effects, I did wonder if the embiggen whole set piece, if that was like an expensive thing to kind of animate and do. So that's why they left it as the I mean, it's great in terms of part of the story, because we know that Ant-Man's been such a big influence on Kamala and stuff. But especially the reports, you've probably seen the articles as well about how Marvel's quite hot on delivery times with these visual effects, which is not great.
Ever since the pandemic, I possibly you have to have that big set piece at the end of the show, though, don't you? You have to have that big bang kind of thing. I really enjoyed it. It was, if you can get around the fact that she's not an Inhuman and that her powers are slightly different, it worked. It was fun, and I really like Iman Vellani, who is Miss Marvel. I think she's great. Like she is just, I can't praise that casting enough. She is exactly who I think of when I think of the books now. Like it's immediately in my head now that like, okay, that's Miss Marvel. Like instantly. It's not a struggle for me with whereas it was with some other, new casting in the MCU. Like, Kit Harington is a good example of that, where it's like, well, I'm never going to see Kit Harington not as Jon Snow. Like, it's just impossible. So, anyway, just as an example, I love Kit Harington, but it's going to be hard for him to get around that. The one thing I did want to touch on very briefly is the theory around the bangle, the bracelet that she wears. So we're getting these weird kind of artifacts. A lot of people noticed, and I don't know if you noticed, Zane, so we get a flashback at one point to where they find the bangle, and it's attached to that Kree arm, the severed Kree arm. So when they do a wide shot out, the pattern on the floor is the 10 rings.
That's so cool. It's a great callback.
It is cool. So a lot of people were theorizing, potentially, was this ship or was this thing that kind of crashed with the Kree on it that had these artifacts, is that the same place that Mandarin found the 10 rings? And, you know, why did he leave the bangles like there? And apparently there were supposed to be 2 of them. So there has been a big theory. So I don't know if you know much about the cosmic comic books, but there are these items called the quantum bands.
Yeah.
So they were worn by the original Captain Marvel, and the purpose of them is basically to unlock, like, you know, potential and unlock abilities, like crazy abilities within people. And so the theory is that she's got one of the quantum bands, and that's what that thing is that's on her wrist, and that's why there's 2 of them, because it unlocks all this latent potential in people. Thoughts on that? Do you think that's what they were going for when they wrote this? It feels like it is.
Yeah, it does feel like it. I wonder if it's a combination of Marvel artifacts, because another popular theory is the negabands by Captain Marvel.
The quantum bands are they basically they become negabands. That's the original form of them, is the quantum bands, and they become the negabands next. That's like the next form of them, kind of thing.
Right. Because I wasn't sure if they were like combined in 2 together, or, you know, sort of thing, which isn't exactly unheard of. But it's interesting. Like, we're going into this new age of like artifacts and items and weapons that, you know, could be more than super soldier serums and cosmic cubes now. Do you know what I mean? Like, we're entering this new phase.
We are, but it's interesting because the super soldier serum, they're keeping a theme with it, because the whole point behind the super soldier serum was it unlocked a person's potential of what they were inside. And it's like, it feels like now there's these artifacts that unlock the potential. Also of note as well, there was some stuff that I was reading about as well, which was about what was it? It was to do with hybrids, like human alien hybrids. Because Kamala is a descendant of a djinn and a human, and that combination unlocked their potential. You know, eventually, when coupled with the right bracelet, that unlocked their potential. And then you've got Shang-Chi, the Mandarin, he was in a relationship with a otherworldly being, which produced Shang-Chi, and then he was the one that could unlock the potential of the rings because he was a hybrid being. And then Star-Lord was a hybrid child of a human and a celestial, and he could unlock the potential to, you know, destroy everything. So it's like it's these kind of things. So a lot of people are theorizing that maybe Adam Warlock, who we know is coming in Guardians of the Galaxy 3, is going to be a hybrid of humanity and that you know, what they called the golden beings
race.
Yes, the golden race. The basically the non-powered Kryptonian jerks that are in Marvel. There's a lot of theory that he's going to be a hybrid, you know, creation. Some people have even said as well, by the way, that the High Evolutionary is going to be the person who made him. This is getting deep now. This is getting into a lot of other stuff.
Cut. Yeah.
But the guy who's in Peacemaker, what's his name? What's his name? The lead agent guy who's in Peacemaker, who recruits Peacemaker. By the way, if you haven't seen Peacemaker, guys, watch Peacemaker. It's fantastic.
I need to finish it.
Oh, it's so good. It's so good. You're going to love the last episode as well. You're going to love it. I'm gonna murder his name. His name is Clemson in the show. The actor's name is Chukwudi Iwuji, and I apologize if I've slaughtered that name, but he has been cast in Guardians, I believe, and he's been confirmed to be one of the baddies in it. So
wow. I shouldn't really be that surprised because James Gunn likes to work with the same people, doesn't he? Like if
Yes, he
he's
does.
coming from Peacemaker, then
Yes. So yeah, anyway, he's confirmed for Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, and he's supposed to be the baddie in it. So a lot of people are theorizing he's the High Evolutionary that makes Adam Warlock. And he's the one who's made him to kill the Guardians. And yeah, it would be great because like that would make a lot of sense if they're doing this kind of hybrid thing, you know, across, and then maybe we'll get the idea that Scarlet Witch was actually, her father was actually not her father, and her father was somebody else, possibly Magneto, a mutant, or you know, some otherworldly being. Who knows? But yeah, it's fascinating. I going back to Miss Marvel, I loved this show. I thought it was fantastic. I thought the visual effects were brilliant in it. They did a very good job with altering her power sets to make it something both believable but also new. You know, because we haven't seen anything like it. I think they were also a bit nervous about Mr. Fantastic coming up because obviously he's got the bendy, stretchy powers as well. So you don't want to clone it completely. Sound design was really good in this as well. The soundtrack was awesome. Like the soundtrack was really good.
Really
this kind
cool.
of this like funky R&B kind of, you know, like Middle Eastern flavor soundtrack was awesome. Like it was really, really good. And just graphically speaking, I love the way they interspersed it with like comic book like flashes as well. And yeah, it was just great. I loved this show. I thought it was fantastic, and I would. It's up there. Probably like I would say it's probably just behind Loki for me as my favorite. I think I really enjoyed it that much.
Yeah, I think it was really a passion project because you know there was so many sort of full circle moments, such as at the beginning of this when Kamala tries on her cosplay and feels uncomfortable, but at the very end she's looking in the mirror and she feels confident in her like outfit.
She knows who she is. Yeah,
exactly. It's just beautiful moments like that. For me, go on.
Yeah, no, go on. Finish.
Okay. I was just going to say, like the cultural element as well that they've introduced, I thought was amazing because it's not something I'm familiar with, and yeah, I've had like fun with it as well because you know I'm not a history buff, so when I saw Watchmen and they talk about I'm trying to think of what it's called now. It's not Wall Street. It's
the massacre.
The massacre. You know, that was something that I never knew about. And similar with this partition in Pakistan and stuff.
Yeah.
Again, I'm not a history buff, so I had no idea about this. But it's interesting to kind of learn these things from a superhero show. And it just.
I'm gonna tell a story. So there's a couple of things I want to discuss, but I will tell the story just very quickly about that and about the partition and all that kind of history. So I'm married to an American, for those of you out there who know, and my mother-in-law is a Catholic Irish descendant who's an American. I want to point out at this point in time, I love them very much. I get along extremely well with my in-laws, and they are wonderful people. And we have a running joke at the moment whereby, because I am British, she makes a joke of anywhere we go to a new place, anywhere we go to say it's like Ireland or Scotland or somewhere in the world, she'll remind me of the horrendous atrocities that the British committed against the people in the past. So I get a running commentary of how bad Britain is, and it's hilarious, and I love her for it. So thank you for that. But like when you watch shows like this, you realise the British people over the years, we've been not very good to a lot of different people, it's a very delicate conversation, that one, because there's a lot of, we're not going to go into it because it's a light-hearted show, but there's a lot of debate around what's the occupation of nations in the past has done to those nations, and the way we have left things in a new world, and there's a lot of questions around that. But yes, I agree with you. It was fascinating. Whilst we're talking about that, I wanted to get your input on how you thought about the idea that she time traveled.
Oh yeah, the time travel. That was weird, wasn't it?
It was weird. Like, she's responsible for her own grandmother escaping partitioning.
But I mean, like, it's the self-fulfilling kind of,
Mm-hmm.
you know, it's almost like a trope in TV nowadays. Like,
Yeah.
you know, who could forget Rose and Doctor Who saving her father? Like,
Yeah, I know.
you know,
But it's interesting though, isn't it? Because it's like, or not saving her father for that matter.
oh yeah, yeah.
But yeah, it's this is why I think they're, like you said, the negabands or the quantum bracers, because it's like that's not her power set, the ability to travel through time, and it's only when that thing gets like smashed by the Samo, the leader of the Jinn, that it triggers like a you know, some warping thing. But yeah, I thought that was the one thing with the series where I was kind of like, that feels very weirdly out of place. I don't know why they put that in there. That's very strange.
Also, I think it breaks the rules of Endgame's time travel.
Yes, it does. It does. Unless that's a fixed event that has to happen.
Yeah.
It's not. Don't forget, Endgame's rules don't apply anymore because the the sacred timeline is now broken. So anything goes as far as dimensional tears are concerned.
Sure.
So like, her not going back in time probably created a variant reality that it now exists in its own form, and Ms. Marvel was never born. But I think the idea behind it is it's a fixed event that she has to go back in order to save her grandmother so that she becomes Ms. Marvel, so that everything plays out the way it does. But again, who's to say? Because all the rules are off now, and this is going to be the genie that they can't put back in the bottle.
Yeah.
One last thing before we finish off, Zane. Damage control. DODC. It feels like they're becoming the new like fascist government state in the Marvel universe, and they're, instead of them being like this system that helps people after hero incidents, they're now becoming like we're going to segregate and contain you, and we hate Muslims department. What did you think of their portrayal in this show, and where do you see that going in the future? Are they the new like shield for the Earth, or what are we looking at here?
Yeah, it's bizarre, isn't it? Because they're almost like the anti-shield, I guess you could say. You know, there's no charming person, there's no Coulson. They're everything but what we recognize from Shield and stuff. But
they're the FBI in everything but name only, aren't they? Let's be honest.
Yeah, I guess what's, you know, I was going to mention as well, excuse me, is are they the new sort of Tony Stark now? Because you know how Tony Stark is kind of like the villain who his tech always creates.
Yes.
They used, since Homecoming, they've confiscated his technology and then repurposed it in this show and stuff, like with the drones, the sonic weapons. They even use the same charging sound effects that the Iron Man suit used.
Here's the question.
Yeah.
Here's a big brain teaser for you.
Okay.
We might have to look back over some of the previous shows of Phase 4. Are they human? Or are they Skrulls?
Wow.
Because Secret Invasion is coming.
That's true, yeah.
And we know that Nick Fury is working with the Kree, who are the mortal enemies of the Skrull. And maybe... Oh, no, wait. Is he working? No, he's working with the Skrulls, isn't he? He's working with the Skrulls against the Kree. Yeah. But, like, yeah, what if Secret Invasion is going to be like, maybe there's Kree people who have infiltrated the Earth instead of it being the Skrulls? Because we know the Skrulls are hidden on Earth as well. But who's to say? Maybe, I don't know, maybe it's like factional war, maybe it's something else, but maybe they're Skrulls, maybe they're bad Skrulls or bad Kree or aliens that are
like that. Yeah.
Yeah, it could be.
That's
Who knows?
cool.
There's a rumor that Robert Downey Jr. is coming back for Secret Invasion, by the way.
No way.
Yeah.
No way.
It's the active rumor right now. What's he done since Iron Man? Dr. Dolittle.
Dr. Dolittle.
He's doing Sherlock Holmes 3, but that's not going to be for a while.
Is that really off the ground?
Sherlock Holmes 3?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're doing it. They're filming it next year. The biggest rumor is that they're going to get Johnny Depp to be the bad guy in it.
Wow. Guy Ritchie's a busy guy at the moment, because isn't he?
He is.
He's doing a Disney adaptation as well, isn't he?
probably. He did Aladdin, didn't he? So yeah, he's doing another one. But yeah.
Hercules.
Anyway,
He's doing Hercules.
Hercules, that's what he's doing. Yes, you're right. Yes, he is. Anyway, regardless. Okay, so to sum up then, guys, go and watch Ms. Marvel if you've got a Disney Plus subscription. It is excellent. If you like fun-filled adventures and just kind of forgetting bad times for a while. Okay. Zane's
Sorry,
got
I
something.
just remembered the thing at the end. The
Oh, yeah.
teleportation.
Now, okay, so here's a question for you. Is that teleportation? Is it?
It's not the typical teleportation we've seen.
Well, here's why I'm not. I don't think that's teleportation. I think it's a red herring again. In the books, when her powers first appear, when her powers first trigger after the Terrigen Mists, so one of her powers is she can polymorph, aka shapeshift, into people. And when her powers first happen in the books, she turns into Carol Danvers. So the first time she saves someone, she looks like Ms. Marvel, like as in Carol Danvers, Ms. Marvel. Yeah, and everyone thinks it is Ms. Marvel, and then it's not. I don't know if this is actually because she's still got the glowy hands. If you notice when you watch the clip back, she's got the glowy hands. I wonder if this is actually her abilities evolving, because mutant powers evolve from they've got evolved mutant powers. Like Iceman goes into pure ice form after a while. And it's because his mutancy has evolved. I think that might be her evolving into the ability to polymorph into other people. And because she's looking at Captain Marvel, she's turned into Captain Marvel, without controlling it. I think that's what that is. I don't think it's a teleport thing. No. I really don't. I'd be shocked if it is. But I guess they've got to get Carol Danvers back on Earth somehow. But what do you think? What are your thoughts?
It's probably worth explaining the popular theory that this could be a teleportation because of the negabands, the history associated with them. Because is it Rick? I'm trying to remember his name now. He's often seen as like a sidekick to the Hulk and stuff. His name's Rick.
Rick Jones.
Rick Jones. So historically, historically speaking, I think in a Captain Marvel run where he smashes the bands together, he swaps places with Captain Marvel.
Right, okay.
He goes into the negative zone, and
so maybe
Marvel,
Carol Danvers has got the other band.
Potentially.
Yeah, possibly. Yeah, because that's the other thing to say is that there's they were wondering if it's gonna turn out that Carol was a hybrid being as well, because the Space Stone unlocked all this ability within her when she was caught in the Space Stone explosion, and nobody really understands how that works. And it's like, there's a history of everything else saying that it's this power, but hers just seems to be this random explosion that just made her super overpowered. And it's like, well, what if she was, her parents' lineage was actually, her dad was a part celestial or something like that. I don't know, but you get my point.
In recent comics, they have retconned that so that she's half Kree.
Oh, there you go then. Exactly. Yeah. So she'll be half Kree. So yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? It's these kind of things. So they are moving towards seemingly these hybrid beings being the controls. But yeah, interesting. I don't think it is teleportation, but I could be wrong. We'll see. Anyway. Oh, that was a good deep dive into old Ms. Marvel, wasn't it? I enjoyed that. It was fun. Guys, what did you think of Ms. Marvel? Did you enjoy it? Is it up there on your series highs? Did you think she was Miss Marvelous or Miss Atrocious? What did you think? That was the weakest thing ever. Let us know. Zane, how can they get in touch with us?
You can email us nerdsundisputed@gmail.com. Of course, you can find us on all the favourite social platforms. Twitter, we're undisputed_nerds. The same for Instagram. We have a Facebook page. And of course, you can let us know in the comments down below. Don't forget those comments.
Don't forget those comments and all those like functions and whatever system you're on that they use the arbitrary things of liking and subscribing. You can get me on Instagram as well. Personally, I am @gentlemanlygamer. feel free to slide into my DMs. You know how it is. Not with those kind of pics. And just let me know what your thoughts are on the shows. You can also find me on Twitch, twitch.tv/gentlemanthegamer every Tuesday and Thursday. Yeah, I apologize if anyone watched me on Tuesday where I had a mental breakdown because I was baking inside this sauna of a room that I was in. But yeah, hopefully we're going to start a Guardian soon, Zane. Going to start Guardians of the Galaxy soon.
It's
coming. I am excited.
You can catch me on Twitter and Instagram at Zane_Taicho. We've got an episode lined up for Undisputed Anime. We're going to probably do some reviews. So yeah, if you want some top anime recommendations, check it out.
His vastly superior anime show. Ugh, honestly. What are we doing next week? What's next week?
Next week, oh boy.
There's always something in there.
Yeah, there's always something.
What the hell did we say? We said we were going to do something, and then we said we were going to do. We had shows lined up for like the next 3 weeks, and now I've completely forgotten what they were. I don't know. It's not important.
My mind's
not
not
important.
blank.
Yeah, it's fine. It's all right. There'll be something going on. We'll come up with something, guys. We'll come up with some ridiculous content in the world of comic craziness. So watch this space. Stay safe out there, and until next week. Stay classy.
Oh, nice. I like it.
Yeah, you're welcome. All right, guys. See you next week. Bye.
See ya. Bye.
Thank you.